Joe Rogan was talking about Conor McGregor's call out of Kamaru Usman. And Joe said, and I quote the old adage, be careful what you ask for because you just might get it. Now, why? Why? Joe went on to answer his own question. He talked about how great Usman is. He talked about Usman is the greatest to be doing it right now. He talked about his strength. He talked about the size of his body. That Usman's a true welterweight, that Conor used to be a 45-pounder. All of these things are very valid. We're stating the obvious. There's nothing new here. I have the same question. Why? Why should Conor be careful? What is it that Kamaru Usman, take Kamaru out of it, bring anybody you want. We just happen to be talking about Kamaru. What is it that Kamaru Usman, or anybody for that matter, can bring to the octagon that Conor McGregor hasn't seen? Why should he be careful? Why should anyone be careful what they're asking for when what they're asking for is an opportunity to take on the baddest man in the world? How would that not be praised? Why would that be cautioned? What is it you're scared of? And if your overarching emphasis is that you're scared that you're going to lose and or get hurt, what are you doing in the tough guy business? You're a tough guy or you're not. And if you're looking at the scale and you're talking about pounds and kilograms as an excuse for taking an ass whipping, you and me aren't the same kind of guy. If you're talking about speed or reflexes, if you're talking about resumes, if you're talking about who beat who, you and I aren't the same kind of guy. If you're going into the gym every day to perfect your skill, if you're putting your life on hold, you're dedicated, you're living sore and tired, and you're willing to take a big challenge, and somebody else tells you you shouldn't do it because you might fail, you and I aren't the same kind of guy. So what is it that Kamaru Usman can bring to that cage in unarmed combat? He doesn't get a stick. He doesn't get a bat. What is it that he brings that Conor McGregor has not seen before? Do you believe, as you're doting the praise on Kamaru Usman? Kamaru Usman is the greatest fighter in the world. He is ranked number one for pound and recognized. I agree with that. Do you believe that Kamaru Usman today, pound for pound, is better than Jose Aldo was in 2012? Tough question, isn't it? It's tough. Jose was a champion of two different organizations. Jose was the UFC champion without ever having fought in the UFC. It was out of respect, and nobody's ever questioned it to this day. That's how goddamn good he was. 11 years unbeaten, two different organizations, anybody you want to bring in there. That's how good he was. Is Kamaru Usman as good as Jose at that time? Because nobody warned Conor back then. They bet against him. They picked against him. The odds makers all laughed at the Irishman. Does Jose possess better skills? I'm just asking you. Does Kamaru Usman have better skills than 2017 Eddie Alvarez, who rolled into a sold-out Madison Square Garden with a $17.2 million live gate and was coming off the back of a stoppage victory over RDA? You may come to the conclusion that he does. You may say, yes, as a matter of fact, Kamaru's better than that. Okay, but you see the problem? I made you think when I asked, is today's Kamaru better than 2012's Jose Aldo? I made you think. Sure I did. And I made you think before you answer the question, is today's Kamaru Usman better than 2017 Eddie Alvarez? I made you think. There was a gap in those fights. So even if you've got a little hesitation and you're a little bit on the fence, even if you finally fall on the side of Kamaru Usman, there was a gap. Eddie Alvarez and Jose Aldo got one thing in common, which was neither of them saw a third round. I mean, in all fairness, they have one thing in common, which is neither one of them gave him a bloody nose. Neither one of them gave him a darkened circle under his eye. These were not even close matches. So unless you believe that Kamaru Usman, yes, in fact, is better than a 2012 Jose Aldo, and it was by a gap, and you have that same answer and that same gap for Eddie Alvarez, you failed to prove your point. Now, that's just the X's and O's of the match. If you're one of these guys that wants to talk about size, I just can't relate. I just simply can't. And this isn't Chael over here barking and pounding his chest. I'm so brave. I started in a sport where we didn't have a scale. My sixth fight is the first time I saw a scale. And when Steve Boyd broke it out, I wanted to go home. I knew what a crappy organization I was with. It was a black and white scale that's face was cracked that he was very clear he had brought from his home bathroom. 100% true story. Trevor Prangley will back me up. Nate Poirier and Robert Follis were there. They will back me up. JT Taylor will back me up. We all got on the same scale that Steve Boyd put on the dirty ground of the Roseland that obviously had come from his bathroom. There was zero chance that this scale, at its height of life, cost $20. And this was the official scale. That was my sixth fight, though, before I even saw that. Before I even saw a scale. So when I tell you that I can't relate. Now you're telling me that Conor McGregor weighs 170. You're telling me Kamaru Usman weighs 170. And then we're going to have a discussion that was 24 hours before the fight. Kamaru Usman could be as much as 178 pounds. You and I aren't the same guy. Simple as that. And apparently, Conor McGregor is on my side of things. He has never once bitched about the weight. There's going to be a weight. You're telling me you're going to put two guys on the scale that have to be close enough for whatever commission is sanctioned, even if it's 24 hours before. And by God, we're going to go a step further and we're going to ban IVs so they can't even fully. I mean, the whole thing gets weird, man. Are you a tough guy or aren't you? You're a tough guy at 155 pounds. No question Conor qualifies because he was the champion of the world. I don't care if you're going up, down, or sideways. It's 15 pounds to the next stop. Who cares? And the answer, maybe you do, but we're not the same guy. Moreover, and that's the X's and O's. That's the X's and O's that 99.9% of the population have to live by. I still stand on who cares. The worst thing that's going to happen is you're not going to get your hand raised. Conor going to get his hand raised last time he went in there. He didn't get his hand raised the time before that. He didn't get his hand raised in the sport before that. What difference does it make? And I would like your answer. And if you want to talk about a career and a legacy and having a beautiful record, I'm not against you. Those are wonderful things. I support anybody that has really big goals. But you now go into the category of a bully. If you are only taking fights that you know you can win, or you're only taking fights that you can believe that you can win, you're a bully, and we are the same kind of guy. If you're calling for the biggest and best at all times as a way of raising yourself, keeping your motivation, working hard, taking sacrifices, and taking risks, now we can have a conversation. Now we understand one another. So I think that it's a very interesting question. Be careful what you get because you ask for because you just might get it. I'm pretty sure he doesn't need to be careful. And I think he's pretty clear on what he asked. And if there's an ass whipping waiting at the other side of it, but he's willing to walk out there with his short pants mouthpiece and absolutely nothing else, that seems like something that we should support. I only bring that to you. I have no problem with the dialogue, and I realize that Joe's not the only one having it. A number of people were quick to laugh at Conor. And if you want to know who's going to win between Conor and Kamaru Usman's going to kick his... I get it. What I'm speaking to is the principle of why that would stop somebody from moving forward and trying. We know that Conor will step in there with the world's biggest risk, and Conor will never face in his future what he's already faced. His hardest days are behind him. The day Conor McGregor switched disciplines and took on the greatest boxer to ever exist, life never gets harder. Period. Whatever happens in Conor's future from a competitive standpoint will ail in comparison to that task. 170 pounds, sure, it's a fair question mark. Sure, we weigh them in for a reason. Sure, size matters. Sure, there's a reason we have commissions, and they bring in a lot better scale than Steve Boyd threw down on a dirty floor. Sure. But Conor's already done it multiple times. He's already weighed in underweight. He already let the other guy size up. He already walked in there at a disadvantage multiple times. He's done it with mixed reviews. He didn't go and beat someone and say, I'm going to go beat someone else. He's also got the other outcome and stepped forward for big challenges anyway. So what is it that Kamaru Usman brings that we're going to scare Conor with? It's the art of war, tell me. The best general never fires a shot. You align your troops. You let the other side take a look at it, and you back down. You convince the other side that you have a weapon, and then you convince the other side that it's a weapon that you're willing to use that they are not prepared for. I'm asking you, what weapon is that?